So this is the complimentary tutorial in regards to drawing shapes and lines using the Shift key that I've done for PowerPoint on both the Mac and the PC. This is the Keynote tutorial to show you how to do the same thing. Now Keynote kind of has a little different vibe than PowerPoint in that when you select a shape, Keynote automatically draws that shape for you. So with a line, when you click line, Keynote automatically populates your slide with a line. And then from there you have to determine the relative angle that you want your line to be at. Okay. But the same rule that I showed in my PowerPoint tutorials works with Keynote as well. So let's say I have this line and I want to make it perfectly horizontal. So I can try dragging it and hope that it eventually will line up. But notice it's very flexible in terms of the angle, so I could potentially have it at an angle a little above 0 degrees, and if I'm not looking closely I won't realize it until I go to use this line in a shape or a picture. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this Shapes tool, I'm going to have it draw me a line, and then when I go to grab one of the anchor points on the line, before I grab that anchor point I'm going to hold Shift, and then when I go to move my line, I can only move my line in angles that are multiples of 45 degrees. Additionally, I can stretch the line and notice if I dip below or go above the line with my cursor, it still remains perfectly horizontal. Now if I go high enough, it'll go at a 45-degree angle. But the fact of the matter is I can now adjust my line without the fear of it being a little off in terms of its relative angle. And this allows me to draw something that is perfectly horizontal, or if I want to also, a line that is perfectly vertical. This makes it really easy for me to then draw various shapes using those lines. Now let's say that I'm not concerned with lines. Let's say I'm concerned instead with the shapes that I'm making through Keynote. So I get Keynote to drop a square by clicking Shapes and choosing a square. But then if I want to come and adjust my square, there's no real limit on the width or the height of this. So I can easily get this to where I no longer have equal dimensions for width and height. Notice here my width is 397 pixels while my height is 123 pixels. Okay, and let's say I wanted those to be equal. Well, I can try and get my square to match up. Okay, but it gets really hectic because I have to pay attention to both what I'm doing with the height and the width. And just the slightest bump in one or the other can throw the whole thing off. So the easier way to do this is hold Shift before you grab the anchor point, and that will keep the dimensions of your square. So if I start by putting a square into my presentation and I want to make it larger, I just hold Shift before I adjust the square, and then my dimensions are always maintained. So notice no matter how big I get or how small I get, my width and height are always equal dimensions. The same thing will happen with a circle. Let's say I want to make a really large circle. I hold Shift before I grab the anchor point, and then when I go to move my circle, it alters it appropriately. Okay, so equal dimensions. And the same when I go smaller. If I do it with a triangle as well, I'm going to see it do exactly the same thing. So this is a really great way to easily manipulate shapes in your file, keep the dimensions the way you want them to, and make it so much easier to make slight alterations without worrying about messing up your angle of your line or the relative dimensions of your shape. Right, so that ends this tutorial on the use of the Shift button in your Keynote presentations.